Welcome, everybody, into this edition of ESPN FC alongside Craig Burley, Steve Nicol. I'm Sebastian Salazar. Great to have you with us. Plenty to discuss in today's show, including the busy summer so far for Liverpool and Arsenal. For more on that, we will be joined throughout the program by our good friend, Luis Garcia. Luis, where are you coming to us from these days? What beautiful locale on planet Earth?
I'm in Ibiza on these days. I'm between a little bit of holiday and working, as I am with you tonight, guys.
Oh,
a little bit of holiday, only a little bit of holiday.
Listen, don't let me be presumptuous with today's running order. I have a little sneak preview, but there's no show at the moment. There's not a possibility in the world that we get through 1 week, 1 day, 1 hour, 1 minute without the words Mason Mount. Am I correct or not?
You'll have to stick around and find out.
It's
not jumping out on me on the rundown, I'll tell you that much.
Well, I think I saw it on the running. I think I saw it somewhere.
Mason
Mount.
News for you.
In fact, Mason Mount, has superseded Kylian Mbappe.
Okay.
In this show.
For somebody who doesn't want to talk about Mason Mount, you're talking about Mason Mount.
Well, I find if I get it out of the way, then we can just knock it off later.
Can we just go straight to it?
Yes. What, Mason Mount? No, let's get straight to Arsenal.
All right, okay.
Let's get straight to Arsenal, because they've already been big spenders so far this summer. Over £200 million out the door. Declan Rice coming in from West Ham, Kai Havertz from Chelsea, and Julian Timber from Ajax. It's a lot of money, Luis, but as you look at these improvements, are they any closer to Manchester City?
Getting there. I think they've done an amazing job last year. They can arrive to the last part of the season and got short. I think that Arteta knows very well that he needs to continue improving the squad. He needs to continue bringing special players, and I think that at least two of them got it right. I think Kai Havertz is going to give something different, something more. He already talked strength, quality, personality into the dressing room, something that maybe it was lacking in the last part of the season for Arsenal last year. And of course, Declan Rice, that they've been trying to sign him for quite a long time, and finally got it. I think he's a very special player. He needs to adapt to a new style of football. I think he's got everything to be coming before the way the Arteta knows. But definitely, I think that they are two massive signings for Arsenal. And this is, once again, they're going to try to win every single trophy. And Arsenal, I think, they're going to be ready to challenge Manchester City.
Listen, is this because Luis is on?
That?
Well, I'm not being funny, but we have absolutely. I have personally kicked this ball to death. I'm not being funny. I've absolutely. The ball's flat. It's burst leathered. It's been battered against the wall, right? The Arsenal thing. So you know what I mean. Don't worry about it. There's only a few more days of this coming from me. Don't worry.
Okay, I'm
Summer
not too
holidays
worried.
beckon. However.
So how much closer are they to City?
All right. Was that the angle?
Yeah.
Well.
I mean, for that much money, you would think you'd attack back some ground.
Well, absolutely, and I think that's the whole point of it, isn't it? It's like, they're going to strengthen. They're probably not going to get any worse, even though they've lost some players. We have to keep building. Arsenal don't want to go back to where they were. I don't know, what was it? 3 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever it was, when they were just
2 years ago.
Maybe even 2 years ago. You think you're not even thinking about them, really, apart from maybe pushing for the top four. So it's hugely important that when you're doing well, and they were last year, that you go and push on. That's what Stevie will tell you when the Liverpool were in its heyday, in particular in the 70s, 80s and whatever, they just kept pushing on. Yeah. Just kept bringing in better players, and it pushed everybody on, and I think that's what Arsenal clearly and Arteta are doing. And to be fair, the board are backing them because, as you said, it's a lot of money.
You think they're the second best team in the league on paper?
I'm not so sure. I don't think you can totally, with confidence, turn around and say that.
Where's your doubt?
Well,
It's coming. It's coming. Come on. Just say
that's
it.
because you're thinking
Just
it
say
yourself.
Just say it.
I mean,
just say it. Say the word.
You've got to think Liverpool have made themselves better.
Okay.
And have they made themselves better than Arsenal? Possibly. I mean, there's no question Declan Rice makes Arsenal better. 100%. The Kai Havertz thing for me is a gamble. And 65 million is a lot to pay on a gamble on a player who we think is going to be playing in a position that we've never seen him playing before, and you're going to expect him to push Arsenal to and beyond Manchester City. I don't see how that is anything other than a gamble. And Timber is a decent defender. Yes, him coming will push Gabriel, but is he better than Gabriel? I don't know. And so, yeah, Rice makes them better, but the other two signings, I don't think you know just yet what you're going to get, especially Havertz. You don't know. Come on.
How much risk do you think there is with Havertz?
Oh yeah, there is. But I mean, if somehow they can unlock the youngster that was at Bayer Leverkusen, then they have a very good player. We just haven't seen it consistently at Chelsea. I don't. We talked about Man United to an extent last night, and Ian Dark, I think it was Ian that put his team together, or whoever it was, and that midfield looked to me similar like this midfield. It was Casemiro. Where we're going to fit Mason Mount in, or midfield. Where we're going to fit Bruno Fernandes in, or midfield. And I'm looking at that going, maybe against, Bournemouth and all these teams, that's fine. But that was like shoehorning players in. And I look at this midfield. They had two diggers in there last year, and Xhaka and Partey, right? Two guys that could play a bit, could dig a bit, could defend a bit. And then they had Odegaard, right? Are we saying it's only... as good as Declan Rice is, are we saying it's only Declan Rice that's really going to, carry the water for these other two? I don't think. Maybe against the weaker teams in the Premier League. Right. I don't see that. I don't see that working long term against the top six. I don't. They've
been linked with Tchouaméni of Real Madrid. Luis, where else would you have Arsenal spend money?
It's always good to have someone else at the back. I think it is very important. But once again, we are talking a lot about appointing players. We don't know if they are going to deliver what Arteta wants, or if they are going to adapt to a team that is going to be challenging Manchester City, Liverpool, Man United. But we'll talk later on other teams. We are talking about teams that want to challenge every single trophy. And if you want to do that, you need to sign players who you know that they're going to give you something, that they are going to, when you drop players, because you can have injuries, seasons are very long, the players are playing every single season more and more, and you cannot allow your team to drop quality, and that's why you continue signing players so you know that they're going to give you the same talent. At least you go in the 11 starter. We don't know if I understand that Rice is going to start. Declan Rice is going to start for Arteta, but you don't know if Partey is going to be there. You don't know if some other players are going to need to build in or need to adapt. But definitely what you want is that don't drop the quality that you got on the team, because if you want to challenge for Man City, you cannot allow go away and drop points. You cannot play at home and drop points, and you know that you cannot play every single weekend with the same player. He's been proven, and the best one that he's done it is being Pep Guardiola. That he's been rotating the team for Champions League one team, for the Premier League another team, for the Cups another team, and that's how you arrive to March. That is the drastic point with the players in the perfect condition. Then you decide what are you going to use, what player you're going to use. But definitely you need numbers with quality, and I think that's why they are spending money on Declan Rice, Timber, and of course Havertz, players who are going to deliver straight away to the team.
If he could get rid of, I think Xhaka, I don't know if the move's happened, but you think he's gone back to Bayer Leverkusen, or he's gone back to the Bundesliga, sorry. If they could sell Thomas Partey as well, who he had a pretty good season up to the last sort of, I don't know what it was.
Last 10 games.
10, 12 games, when he looked as if he did have an injury. There was talk of Saudi Arabia for him as well. But if they could shift those out for a bit more money, you're asking about another player, it would be Caicedo from Brighton. They're not going to have a team left at this rate, because he's 20. I think he's 21. He can defend. He can get forward. He's very good in the ball. He's still got more to come out of him, and he's got energy to get around the pitch. And I think that would be a better balance with him and Declan Rice, with Odegaard somewhere floating around. Then you have to figure out where Havertz is going to fill in.
That totally changes the conversation. Caicedo and Declan Rice with Odegaard in the middle of the park with the front three they've got completely changes the conversation. Instead of looking at Havertz, Declan Rice on his own, and Odegaard who wants to go forward. Both of these looks are a world apart. And the one that Craig's just been talking about, 100%, in my opinion, takes them closer to Manchester City. Caicedo, instead of Havertz, absolutely would take Arsenal closer to City.
and then Havertz covers the front three. I mean, you're paying 70 million or whatever it is, but don't forget, City brought Grealish in for, give or take, 100. Before that, they brought Mahrez in for 60-odd million. Both players, particularly Mahrez, has done brilliantly for them, but found himself as a squad player last year. Grealish was in and out in the first season. You're having to spend this kind of money now to cover positions in the team. If Martinelli's not playing well, if Jesus is not playing well, Saka, but I think Saka will be fine. But if the other two aren't firing, then Havertz covers the positions. But I don't see that midfield three working long term. I don't.
Arteta getting a lot of support, no doubt, at least financially.
Well, he can't complain, can he?
No, he can't. Luis, how much pressure do you suppose this puts Arteta under for the upcoming season?
A lot, definitely a lot. After what they've done last season, when they didn't have pressure, and then you start moving and you prove that you are ready to challenge for everything, that you are ready to, why not, win a trophy after a long time. After giving that transition moment, now that is when he's going to feel the pressure, because now you're spending money. Now everybody is expecting at least the result that you did last season. And of course, that is going to start from the first game, from the preseason. In the moment that you don't deliver results from very early on the season, you're going to start feeling more and more pressure. So definitely it's going to be a tricky season for Arteta.
What's his biggest challenge? Craig, you've been through it with Chelsea. You bring in all these players. Like, how do you sort that from the Arteta perspective?
What, you mean? What, the current Chelsea scenario?
No, you've been through it at Chelsea, where you had an off-season where you bring in a ton of new faces for big money at the time. Obviously, the numbers have changed. There's a huge influx of talent. So how does Arteta work that out?
It was a bit different for us because we weren't going from a position where we challenged. You know, we were bringing in Viallis and Di Matteos and Leboeuf, Frank Leboeuf and others, Gianfranco Zola in the end, people like that. But we weren't, you know, that was a club that was building at the time. The pressure is, so that's different. That's now you're looking at a club that's making changes as it goes along. The graph is on its way up as it was at Chelsea, as they got the old guard out like me and the new guard in. And Arsenal's different because, yeah, they're making changes, but they were so good for such a long period last year. The expectation is already that they're going to be arguably the team to challenge City again. There may be others. And now they've spent money, that pressure to get off to a flying start in the season, particularly if City do, and maybe Liverpool do, maybe Newcastle or one or two, whoever it is, if they get off to a flying start and Arsenal are lagging, and don't see any reason why they would, that's where the pressure's going to be. They're not making that many changes. It's not like they look as if they're bringing in 7 or 8 new players. It's 2 or 3, maybe 4, and that's quite easy to integrate.
His biggest problem is going to be getting the same out of what he's got.
You think last year was a little bit of a fluke?
No, you can't say it was a fluke. But when a team and a group of players does as well as they did unexpectedly, that's a different ball game from starting the season with the expectation of you're the team chasing Manchester City. That's a completely different ball game. You know, this is not Chelsea teams of the past, the Liverpool teams of the past, who for 3 and 4 years have either won the Premier League or have been fighting for the title, because you get into a groove and you know that the start of the season everybody's going to be pretty much the same. Some will be better, some might be worse, but there's a certain level that you know you're going to get. The truth is, right now, we don't know we're going to get that from Arsenal because they've only done it that one season, and particularly with the last 10 games of the season where they dropped off, that's going to be the thing that's thrown at them if they don't start the season well. And all these players have to produce again. Signing Declan Rice and signing Havertz and signing Timber is a great statement of intent from the club to the fans that we like what we saw last year, but we want to get better. But it's a whole world away from those 3 players joining a team that's actually consistently been fighting for the title for a period of time, because it's only been 1 year. So that's the biggest challenge.
Can't criticise Arsenal for what they're trying to do here.
Not at all. Not at all.
The worst thing would have been to say, oh, do you know what? Well, it was close last year.
Right, we're ahead of schedule.
We're surprised a lot of people. We played some great stuff. We've got some young players. We're going to go again. We're just going to go again with what we got. That's a huge mistake. I remember in 98 when we won the title at Celtic, We had some managerial change at the club that summer after the World Cup. Do you know how many players we signed?
How many?
Zero. Zero. Some people at the club thought, oh, we'll just wring more out of the guys that did it for us last year. And do you know what happened? We were a mile off. We were a country mile off even being in the title race the next season. Because nobody came in and pushed you. Nobody came in. They didn't sign another 2 midfielders, another centre-half, another striker to back up Henrik Larsson. They just said, no, we're going to rest on it. We're not going to spend. We're going to go again. At least Arsenal, and you would expect it with the Premier League millions, at least Arsenal are going out and saying, do you know what? Last year we came up short. For all the plaudits we got, we need to be better. We're going to spend.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.